Hey guys, welcome to my channel Salt and Light, where we're going to talk about a variety of subjects, and I'll give you some short teachings on some spiritual things and insights into the Bible and into what God is saying to us. And we're also going to talk to the culture, if you will, and bringing a biblical world mindset to us as believers today in this time in society. So that's what this channel is about. And so welcome. You can click on the subscribe button down at the bottom, as well as there's that little bell there. If you click on that, you'll get alerts when we put out new videos. And so it's great to have you with us. Also, comment. You can discuss things and have comments and different things like that in the comment section. That will help make these videos more visible to others. So thank you guys. So today I wanted to talk to you about the shaking that's going on and ask the question, are you awake? You know, we live in this time in society, in this time in the world that everything that can be shaken is being shaken. I mean, even to the extreme of, gender. I would never have dreamt that the idea that two genders is a concept or could become a concept. Let's put it that way, because obviously the two genders are set, and no matter what you do, you're either male or female, like it or not. And yet people are trying to say, well, I can be whatever I want to be one day, one thing, one day another thing, or they have, many genders. And so that's something that I would never have thought that would even come into question, yet it is something that is now being shaken. So I wanted to ask you the question, are you awake? Are you aware of the signs of the times? The Gospels tell us, as well as Paul in his writing, tell us that we need to be alert and to be awake, and that when Christ's return takes place, that it's going to happen. It's going to come like a thief in the night. And I hear that taught from people. I always grew up thinking, that, you never know the hour, because that's what the Bible says. You don't know the hour that Jesus Christ is going to return. Yet on the same hand, I was always taught that when that happens, it's going to catch believer and unbeliever alike by surprise. And that's simply not what the Bible tells us. It very much tells us that the believer should not be caught by surprise. So let's look at some scriptures on this. In the book of Matthew, in Matthew chapter 24, he's talking about the signs of the end of the age. And he talks about, persecution is predicted. He talks about the great tribulation that's coming, the coming of the Son of Man, and all the different signs that we can see. And he takes off in verse 36. Jesus is speaking here. And when Jesus talks about end times, I think prophecy is often given in a way that it's for now, and it's for later, and it's for a time after that even. It affects multiple, in the timeline of time, it hits multiple points in that. And yet when Jesus talks about end times, he teaches it line upon line and gives you a timeline, if you will, of how these things will play out. Sometimes, like in the book of Revelations, there's things that are, one moment, and Isaiah is a great example of this. One moment he's talking about a prophecy for then, and then in the next moment he's talking about a prophecy even after the return of Christ, and then he's talking about, so they're not in order, in sequential order, and where Jesus lays them out in sequential order. So here in verse 36 of Matthew 24, he says, now concerning that day and hour, no one knows, neither the angels in heaven nor the Son, except the Father only. So only the Father knows the exact hour, the exact minute that he returns to the earth. And in verse 37, as the days of Noah were, so the coming of the Son of Man will be. For in those days before the flood, they were eating, they were drinking, and marrying, given in marriage until the day that Noah boarded the ark. Now, they didn't know until the flood came and swept them all away. So this is the way that the coming of the Son of Man will be. Then 2 men will be in the field, one will be taken, one will be left. 2 women will be grinding at the mill, one will be taken and one will be left. Now listen, here's the key verse. Therefore, be alert. Be alert. Be awake. Be watching. Since you don't know what hour your Lord is coming. But you know this. If the homeowner had known what time the thief was coming, he would have stayed alert and not let his house be broken into. This is why you must also be ready, because the Son of Man is coming at an hour you do not expect. You know, it's kind of like dinner time in my house. My wife is a great chef, and so she makes dinner, and I can begin to smell it. I can hear things being prepared in the kitchen, and I can hear the table being set with utensils and things. And so I know that the time is coming near for dinner time. Now, I don't know the exact minute it's going to be ready, right? But I can recognize the signs of the times of that it's near. And this is what it's like with this. You know, we can recognize the signs of the times. We don't know the exact hour, but we should have things happening that we know, you know what, it's going to be real close. We're approaching. We can smell it, right? We're on the verge of it. It's going to be any moment, any time. And that's the analogy of dinner at my house will help you understand that. So it doesn't catch you by surprise. Even though you don't know the exact minute the dinner's going to be ready. You know it's approaching. You know you can smell it. You can hear the signs of it. You can see the signs of it. And pretty soon that call is going to come. Dinner's ready. Everyone sit down. And so you shouldn't be caught by surprise by it. So here in the Gospel of Luke, in chapter 21, it's the same thing. He's addressing the same things, and he's just saying it. The writer of Luke puts it this way. He says, be on your guard. So to be watching for it. You can't be caught too much by surprise if you're expecting something. So be on your guard so that your minds are not dulled. Here's the things that would dull your mind to make so that it would catch you unaware. Dulled from carousing, that actually literally means being hungover. Or drunkenness, your mind is dulled when you're drunk. You're not sharp. Or the third thing here is now the astounding one. It says, and the worries of life. Did you know that the worries of life, drunkenness, and a hangover will all result in the exact same thing, and that is being dull, being unaware, not being watchful. And it's real easy for most Christians to say, well, yeah, the drunkenness and the hungoverness doesn't apply to me, but does the worries of life apply to you? Have you allowed yourself to become dull because of the worries of everything that you've got going on in the worries of life, of daily living? He goes on, so don't let down your guard, and don't let your heart be weighed down or your minds be dulled by these things, because if you do, that day will come on you unexpectedly like a trap. Like, whoa, we didn't see this coming. Man, this is a surprise to us. He goes on and says, for it will come on all who live on the face of the whole earth. So everyone who's living here is going to experience the return of the Lord. The question is, will you be surprised by it? Verse 36, but be alert at all times, praying that you may be accounted worthy to escape all these things that are going to take place and to stand before the Son of Man. So this day does not have to catch you unaware. In 1 Thessalonians, Paul is writing to the Thessalonian church, and in chapter 5, he's talking about Christ's return and the things that are going to take place here. He says in chapter 5 and verse 1, he says, about the times and the seasons, brothers, you do not need anything to be written to you. Why? Because they already knew it. He goes on and says, for you yourselves know very well that the day of the Lord will come just like a thief in the night. When they say peace and security, then sudden destruction comes on them like labor pains on a pregnant woman, and they will not escape. Now, I'm glad he didn't leave it there and say, okay, woe is us, woe is everyone, because it's just going to surprise and shock the pants off all of us. But he didn't stop there. He gave the next verse. And you know, when it comes to understanding Scripture, a lot of times if a person will just read the next verse or the verse that came before the one where they started reading, it will help them understand what they don't understand. It's just a bit of wisdom for you. The next verse gives us the answer for the believer. For you, the believer, it says, but you, brothers, are not in the dark, so that this day would overtake you like a thief. For you are all sons of the light, sons of the day. We're not of the night or of darkness. So then we must not sleep like the rest, be dull-minded, right? But we must stay awake and be sober. That word sober means not drunken. And so we need to be awake and be alert and be aware of the signs of the times and see the shaking that's happening around us and realize what this means and how that affects us as a believer, and that we as a believer, being the salt of the earth, that's a preserver of the earth. You know, salt is a form of covenant. It represented the covenant in the Old Testament, the covenant that God made with the children of Israel, the covenant of life and health and all the things that pertain to it, of deliverance for them. That salt represents that. So we're supposed to be a preserver to the covenant of God with mankind today in the earth. And we're also to be the light of the world, because Jesus, the light, is in us. So it's not going to catch us. We're sons of the light. It's not going to catch us by surprise if we're paying attention. It says, for those who sleep, sleep at night, and those who are drunk at night. But since we are of the day, we must be sober and put on the armor of faith and love on our chests and put on the helmet of the hope of salvation. And so we are not going to be caught unaware of this thing, but we're awake, we're alert. We have faith, the armor that quenches every fiery dart of the enemy. We've got the helmet of salvation on, the hope of salvation, and we have love on our chest. You know, the love of God, it will help you, will keep you with faith, love, and hope. If you have your armor on, you don't have to be dulled by the worries of this life and be caught surprised by the end of time coming. But we can actually be prepared and be salt and light to the earth around us. All right, thank you. I hope this blessed you guys today. Go ahead, click the subscribe button, and we'll release more videos